Okay, so we are going to use parallelograms to continue to try to find missing angle parts. Okay, so we're going to use the given information and find missing angle measures. We're given x, y is 15, so we know a side length of 15, which means we know that this side length is 15 because they're congruent. We're also given that WX is 22, so we know that this side length is 22. We know this side length is 22. We're provided with the information that ZX is 52, so the length of that diagonal, and WT, which is a portion of the diagonal, is 23. So 23. Let's find the other angles, the other measures of the sides. So we want ZW. ZW we already assumed was 15 based on congruent, opposite sides are congruent. ZY, 22, that should be at 22, because we were given the other congruent side. Then TX is going to be half of the entire diagonal of ZX. So since the whole thing is 52, then this would have to be 26. And then WY, the entire length, half of it is 23, so the entire length is going to be 46. All right. Now let's check out some of the angles. We've been given WZY. So this entire measure is 72 degrees. WXT. WXT, so just this portion of the measure, is 35. And then ZWT. ZWT, this portion is 59. Let's see what it's asking us to solve for. We have TZW. So here's T, and we're trying to find ZW. So we know that the whole thing is 72, and we know that up here is 35, so this portion has to be 35 because of alternate interior angles. So if we subtract 72, or subtract 35 from 72, then we know that this portion has to be 37. So this is 37 degrees. Then XYZ. XYZ. So we're trying to find this entire measure, angle measure. So we know this is 37. We're trying to find this entire angle measure. We know that this is 59 degrees. So now we have a couple of options. We can find the interior measure here and work our way around, or we can work with the fact that all the angles are equal to 360. I think we'll use the interior measure. So if this is 37 and this portion is 35, then if I look at this triangle that's formed by the two diagonals and the left side, I take 180 and subtract the measures of 37 and 59, and that'll give me this portion has to be 84 degrees because of course it's a triangle, they add up to 180. That means that this also is 84 degrees because they are vertical angles. All right, so now that I have this angle, I know that the angle 84 plus this angle directly next to it, because they form a line, are a linear pair. So if I take 180 and subtract 84, these two together have to be equal to 180, so this has to be 96. It also gives us the angle up here as 96 degrees. Now that I have this angle, I can work my way around as well. I have 35 plus 96 plus the missing angle here should equal 180. So I subtract 96 and 35 from 180, and that gives me 49. So this angle is 49, which means this angle is also 49 degrees. If I add these two together, 49 plus the existing 59 is 108 degrees. So our measure of x, y, z is 108 degrees, and we've answered the rest of the questions along the way. XWT would be 49 degrees, and XYT would be 59 degrees. Feel free to go ahead and give the one below that a try. I've written in the answers for you to check your answers against, so take a moment to pause the video and check your work. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know and we can go over it together at another time. Alright, so let's move on and look at using angle measures to solve when we're given a variable. So here we're given two measures, we're given two angles, and they're not opposite of each other, they're consecutive or adjacent. We know that consecutive angles are equal to each other, so I know that angle P plus angle K, or excuse me, angle Q, has to be equal to 180 degrees. Even though I'm looking for angle R, in order to find the measure of angle R, I'm going to have to solve for angle or for x first. And in order to solve for x, I need to use both of these and set them into an equation where I can solve for them. So I'm going to now set these equal to each other, or I add them together to equal 180. 3x plus 5, angle P, plus angle Q, which was 8x, minus 12, together are going to be equal to 180. Now this is where I'm going to suggest that you bring in Desmos, okay? I know at this point you are capable of solving a multi-step equation, and as such, I don't feel that it is necessary for you to spend the time working out a two-step or a multi-step equation by hand. So instead of doing it by hand, let's put it into Desmos to solve and save ourselves some time and energy. So I'm going to type it in just like I have here. 3x plus 5, or the given measure of angle P, plus Q, which was 8x minus 12, is equal to, oops, parentheses, 180. Now, you'll notice that it doesn't exactly give me the answer, but what I can do is zoom out and find the graph that it has created. And the graph is actually a graph of the line of x. So you'll notice that this is the x-intercept is at 17. So it has solved for x, and x is equal to 17. Okay. So I can go back and say, okay, using this information, I have solved for x, which is 17. Now that's not what it asked me though. It's asking for the measure of angle R. Now I know that the measure of angle R is actually equal to the measure of angle P because they are opposite angles which are congruent in a parallelogram. So I know angle R is going to be equal to the measure of angle P, which is 3 times 17, we solved for x, plus 5. I really could have substituted 17 into either one of them to figure it out. I would just have to go about it in a different way. So 3 times 17 plus 5 is going to give us 56. So I know that the measure of angle R is equal to 56 degrees. Okay? So remember, use Desmos to plug it in and solve for x, and then plug back in the value for x to solve for the angle measure itself. Why don't you try this one on your own, and then we'll look at how to set this problem up. Okay, so if you struggled with setting this problem up, then let's look at how we would go about that. So we know that this angle, all right, and this angle are related because by alternate interior angles, I can say that these are congruent to each other. Okay, and it gave us angle ABC is equal to 115. So this whole thing is 115. So I can relate these two to each other by saying 4x plus 6 plus our second angle of 6x minus 11 has to be equal to the total angle measure of 115. This you can put into Desmos in order to solve for x. Remember to look for your x-intercept. It should be x is equal to 12. Then we're finding the measure of angle ADB, which is going to be 6 times 12 minus 11, substituting back in, or 61 degrees.